what could be the risk of investing in a infrastructure thematic fund right now?
Between a sector and a theme, there is a little bit of gap. I think everybody needs to understand.
If you have to, let's say, list three reasons about infrastructure theme right now,
We follow a BNB principle. The risk would be a notch lesser.
can you simplify it for our investors?
All these three products, from the date of their launch, all of them have delivered.
If you have been thinking about investing in India's growth story, whether it is roads, power, airports, data center, renewables, today's video is the only one you need to watch before investing in an infrastructure mutual fund. We have with us Mr. Shrinivas Khanolkar, Head of Digital Marketing and Corporate Communication at Mirae Asset, someone with over 22 years of experience, including 18 years in the mutual fund industry across product development, business strategy, and investor education. He has worked closely on multiple fund launches and understands exactly what retail investors look for before putting their hard-earned money into the thematic fund. Today we'll decode why infrastructure, why now, what are the risks, what makes this NFO different, who should invest and who should avoid, and how infra funds should fit into your long-term portfolio. By the end of this conversation, you will know whether an infrastructure fund deserves a place in your investment plan. Let's begin.
So, thank you, Mr. Srinivas, for joining in and talking to FYERS.
Hey, thank you, Kanishka. Thank you for having me here today.
You have been with Mirae for 17 years now and you have seen the Indian investors evolve. So, how are retail investors thinking differently today compared to, 5 to 10 years ago?
Earlier days, probably ask somebody about what investing is all about. They would only talk about हमें Sensex पता है, हमें Nifty पता है. But they won't go beyond that. But today, information dissemination, which is happening across media houses, platforms like yours, they are well aware that there is a world beyond indexes and market cap indexes. And they are aware now that there are thematic products and something which probably resonates with them much better.
All right. So, if you have to, let's say, list three reasons जो आपको लगता है कि इन्वेस्टर्स को सबसे ज़्यादा एक्साइट करते हैं अबाउट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर थीम राइट नाउ.
I'll give you an example from, say, banking and financial services industry, and then compare it. So BFSI अगर आप देखोगे तो 20-25 साल पहले सिर्फ बैंक था. Slowly, securities came. Today you have digital, you have fintech, you have so many plays. So it's no longer just a bank. So bank is a sector, BFSI is a theme.
Yes.
Similarly, from an infra point of view, say a reality is a sector, but infrastructure, when it's coupled with capital goods, data centers, power generation, transmission, distribution, defense, EMS electronics, reality, logistics, telecom, materials, then I think it's a complete diverse sector. So it's no longer just a sectoral positioning, it's a thematic position.
All right. This fund takes a broad based view from, capital goods, like you mentioned, to logistics, to digital infra. So, how do you make sure this doesn't become too diversified and lose its, infra identity?
Let's take from a view of whatever I just said, say like say capital goods, right? So capital goods में आपको underlying में और subsectors क्या है? Transmission equipment है, defense है, industrial equipments है, shipbuilding है, EMS है, rail equipments है, renewable equipments है. अब अगर आप logistics की बात करें तो फिर airports, road logistics, airlines, container services, ports. So within itself, there is a lot of diversification which is there, but not going into too much into the say the financing part of it, or not going too much into saying that okay because they are funded by banks, so banks भी इसका part हो जाएगा. And there is a infrastructure index which already exists in the country. So when you look at that and you look at the sectoral definitions of it, then it's very clear that what is part of infrastructure as per the index part of it and what is not. Say utilities, the BSE India Infrastructure Index, utilities, infra, capital goods, oil and gas, consumer durables, logistics, infra lending, and aviation. These are the broad sector industries. But now we are also finding the new age which is coming up. And that's one of the exciting themes for the next 6, 7, 8 years is what we feel. And that's why the reason of bringing a product.
Okay. Also, this fund follows a barbell strategy. Can you simplify it for our investors?
barbell as a concept, investing into different horizons, so that there is balancing factor which comes out.
Hmm.
Barbell works very well from making you understand from a debt fund positioning point of view, because in the duration products you will have a chunk of the portfolio which is in a longer duration products, underlying securities, and some of them will be in the shorter. So average bana ke aapka average would be lesser than the extreme ends. So that's why it's called barbell in a way.
Hmm.
Now, in infrastructure product, we would have more like a core portfolio, which will be balanced out in two parts, which one is the high growth and one is the matured. Now,
Yeah.
high growth means what? I think they may not generate free cash flows, but they're potentially high growth sectors, subsectors, right? Any businesses which include, say, data centers, allied ancillaries to data centers, semiconductors, EMS, solar manufacturers, green
Hmm.
hydrogen, ammonia creations, EV, power transmission, logistics. These are largely the high growth sort of stories.
Hmm.
Coupled with that, to balance that out, you will then have the matured industries. There's a stable growth which is coming. It's not very high growth sectors, but they have stable cash flows. So businesses like power, reads, and with sports, these are businesses which generate a lot of cash flow. So that way, you will have a bubble between high growth and core. And
Hmm.
apart from that, there will be a satellite portfolio which will capitalize on special situations like change in regulatory environment, technological advancements, sector dynamics, corporate restructuring. So there will be companies under these sectors which will undergo that. That will give us an opportunity to create a satellite portfolio from that.
All right. But Mr. Srinivas, infra cycles are usually long and bumpy. So, what would you suggest retail investors, a time horizon they should realistically have? And also, what kind of returns they should expect?
So if you look at, say, FY26 to FY32, the estimates are that there is a robust capex pipeline across most of the infra sectors,
Hmm.
almost to the tune of $153 billion. Now,
Yeah.
utilities and renewable have a capex pipeline of $31 billion. Energy fossil fuels is about $40 billion. Metals is about $28 billion. Auto ancillary is about $16.6 billion. Cement is about $4 billion. Telecom is about $12 billion. Transportation is about $21 billion. This is the layout which is going to happen over the next 6 odd years. So,
Hmm.
from a positioning point of view, the fund is trying to now capitalize on the growth which will come because of this. And as we
Hmm.
are aware that markets are a little ahead of the actual GDPs, right? I
Hmm.
mean, the GDP impact of this will happen over the next 6 years, but the markets are always a little ahead of time and they watch for earnings, and that's how it goes ahead.
Yeah.
So, this is what is really interesting for us to look at. And I think investors should take note of this.
All right. Now, okay, this is for retail investors. What is the one thing that makes your stock selection process different from, other players in the category?
We follow a BMB principle, which is business evaluation at its core, whether there is enough for that business to exist, whether the industry size of that is a X percentage or not. You can have a fantastic company, but if the underlying industry story of that stock or that company is only very limited, that then only that much that it can deliver. So
Yeah.
opportunity size is also very important. The industry business side is also very important. Then comes the management. Most important is there should not be any red flags. Our analysts actually meet the most of the management companies one on one in their offices, not just on calls where you can maybe just get generic information, but when you have in person meetings, you can actually thrash out a lot of information. And I think
Hmm.
AI is also helping a lot in that context to sort of process such a long information in short period of time and help
Yeah.
us. Third part is the valuation. That today, if you're buying a certain stock, if you feel the value of that stock is say 125 and it's available at 75, then I think you should go ahead and pick it up. but not something like, if the value is available at, you feel the value is 125, but it's at about 120, then the upside is limited, right? So that is some principle that we follow in stock selection. We've had three active fund launches on thematics before this. The consumption fund that we launched in 2011. 2018, we launched the healthcare. And then subsequently during COVID time, we also looked at the banking and financial services fund. One thing which I can proudly let your viewers know about, that all these three products, from the date of their launch, all of them have delivered in excess of 15% CAGR, which tells you that possibly our understanding of market cycles on thematics is slightly
Yeah.
nuanced, and we feel that we can do justice to products.
That is very interesting. What could be the risk of, investing in a thematic infrastructure thematic fund right now? Like we have talked about all the pros right now. I also want ki risk kya hoga?
Very pertinent question that we talk about risk, because generally most of the conversations just end on क्या अच्छा है और क्या करना चाहिए, but what is the downside, right? I would say between a sector and a theme, there is a little bit of gap. And I think everybody needs to understand that. So
Yeah.
if you just take defense, it will be a sector,
Hmm.
right? But if you go for infra, which is much more, it's a
Hmm.
theme. Few more stuff which can probably balance out if the sector doesn't do well over a
Yeah.
period of time, right? So at the core of a theme is sector,
Hmm.
but theme is not sector. The sector can be part of the theme. So when we're looking at, say, infrastructure from a viewpoint that, what it can happen, what
Hmm.
are the risks somebody has to understand. I think the risks are pretty similar to, say, getting into any thematic product or getting into,
All right.
say, sectoral funds. There
Hmm.
is a high risk, high reward strategy which comes in. Only thing for themes is because the risk would be a notch lesser as
Hmm.
compared to a sectoral fund,
Hmm.
because that is the highest risk which is there. Again, what we are discussing is not about your core portfolio. We are talking about the satellite portfolio, because
Yes.
these funds, yes, it can be somebody's parts of core portfolio also, but largely to avoid excessive risk to the portfolios on the cyclical nature of the markets, which can happen. This we are discussing about, say, 25% of your portfolio. We're not discussing about 70% of your, or 75% of your core portfolio holdings, which should be made up with the mainstay market cap products. The satellite portion in 25% is where you should look at certain bit of allocation. Since you mentioned that, thematics can be cyclical in nature, you may be
Yeah.
holding a lot more thematic products, which probably, say, are doing well, or now probably they're not doing that well. Can you find some substitution? And that's where products like this can definitely come into picture.
Okay. So my last question, अगर आपको ये fund retail investors को pitch करना है in one sentence, what would that be?
Viksit Bharat 2047 vision, this fund can play an important part of it.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Srinivas, for taking time out and talking to Fires. Yeah, for breaking this down so clearly for all of us.
Thank you, Kanishka. Thank you for having me today.
If today's conversation helped you understand the infrastructure theme better, make sure you like this video and share it with someone who is planning to invest. If you want more conversations that help you invest with confidence, don't forget to subscribe to FYERS. We simplify markets, we decode data, and we help you make smarter choices with your money. Thank you for watching. See you next time.
Investment in securities market are subject to market risk. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.